it's a shark's tooth philosophy, right? So one gets knocked out, the other one moves in. We don't lose a beat, right? We don't lose a beat, and we keep trucking. And Dr. Pete, something I know to be true, man, is as much as it might cost me a bit more to have a bigger team, net over 3 years, I win.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And here we are. We are just crushing this crazy 8 series on the 8 most common capacity blocks in your practice, doc. That's right. You heard it right. In your practice. We're talking to you right now. We've been talking to you through this whole series, and I hope that you're participating in our crazy 8-week challenge, right? So, man, what a great way to end the year. You can identify those places where there are rubs, where there's resistance to growth in your practice. Man, in any one of these, you address any one of these crazy 8 capacity blocks, and you're going to see your practice grow. Imagine what happens if you start knocking down 4, 5, 6, 7, all 8 of them. Dr. Pete, I'm super stoked to hear the success stories coming out of this series, knowing that everybody is going to finish this year strong, running into 2022, with just as like a ball of fire, just kick off the year. So we've already done the first of the capacity blocks, the philosophical capacity blocks. We've done the mental capacity block. We've done the logistical capacity block. We've done the physical plant capacity block. And here we are, we find ourselves on number 5, the personnel capacity block. Man, this is a big one. It's all about your team. And you know what they say, 95% of your problems are people problems. So we're going to be punching that one right in the nose on this episode.
You know what I love about doing these 8-part series, Doc, is that we're still creating them and people are consuming them and we're getting the feedback as we go. It's one of those they're like, hey, I'm in the middle of this series. I'm like, yeah, this is our longest series I think we've ever done. I mean, I think it's 8 plus an intro. So this is a long series. And what I love about it is we're going deeper. We always say we're not trying to get through it. We're trying to get to it. And this is one of those series where, our goal is to help you get to it. To what? To what's important now, so you can get to what's important next and what's important ultimately. CEOs, we think in 3 frames of time: now, next, and ultimately. So we position this perfectly, we believe, because it's right at the end of a year going into a new year. And as CEOs, it's really important for us to be able to, assess really well and then direct really well, right? So we're able to determine, hey, these are our highest priorities right now. These are going to be our highest priorities next. And so our goal for this series is, as you assess each one of these categories, all 8, today we're going to be focusing on your personnel, which we're really fired up about, is that this would then give you the areas where you need to focus when it comes to your team for the next quarter or the next year even, right? So that's the power of this. And doing an assessment of, hey, where is my team at? So we expect that you're able to do that for each one of these 8 capacity blocks. And the question isn't, do I have a capacity block here? It's, where do I have a capacity block here? Remember, there is capacity block. We all have it. I don't care what the business is. There's a capacity block. And in these 8, you'll find, hey, this is where the capacity block is. And it reminds me of something, Doc. We were at our retention immersion a few weeks back. And one of our clients, I was doing a coaching call after, and he said, this was our 4th time going to the retention immersion. And he said, it was amazing because we found there were areas things that we weren't doing. There were things that we had been doing, but weren't doing right. There were things that we, needed completely, were not, doing and addressing at all. We hadn't even heard of. We were like, wow, how do we miss that? So the reality is that, as a business owner and a leader and a CEO, you're always looking at your business. Even if you've been around that track once, you go back around and you can see, hey, where were we missing on these things? And I love that as a best practice is that, we're continually reassessing and reevaluating our businesses. Just like you go back to another immersion, hey, we're training on these things again. Guess what? We're going to get better this time. And hey, there's some areas where we haven't. So as we look at your people today, we're going to look at it through the filter, the lens of what we call the 4 rights. Dr. Stephen, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I love it as you say that. It's thinking about it's like a fitness issue. Like it's like a business fitness issue because I had clients all week saying the same thing to me, right? Different scenarios. My third time at the retention immersion. This was my 11th immersion, or it was amazing attending this immersion 2 years later with a different team. Like everybody had different, observations. But so often you hear things like, man, I know I've heard you say that before, or I know I've trained on this in the past, but it just landed differently this time, right? So, and just recognize it's like, listen, we like to say that the first lap through, this is about competency. And then the next lap through, it's on your way to mastery, right? And we just go over and over and over, and we gain mastery as we learn, right? So for you, if you're listening to this and you're saying, man, we're going to talk about team, so much of your business is your team, right? Building a business is building a team. So I'll tell you, out of all 8 of these, I guarantee you that your biggest points of resistance in your practice is your team. I'll tell you that right now, right? I can almost guarantee it. You might be saying to yourself, oh, no, this is the strongest part of my practice. If that's true, man, and I hope it is, congratulations. But that's going to be rare air if that's true for you, right? Because there will be somebody on your team that is sideways. Either they used to buy into your vision story and now they no longer do, right? Or maybe they don't buy into the vision story, period, right? And they're in there and they're punching the clock, and then everybody in between, right? So it's just so critical that we get these 4 rights right, or you're guaranteed to have massive capacity issues at every single role in the practice, right? And the pain around this, the real reality around this, is there's a compound effect to that. I mean, if you've got a capacity block at your check-in CA, and then you've got a capacity block at your at your tech CA, and then you've got a capacity block at your associate doctor, or maybe it's you, doc, and then you got a capacity block at the checkout CA, or maybe it's the office manager over at the top. Man, those things don't add together; they multiply, right? And this is a massive issue, which is exciting because it means that translates into a massive opportunity. So here's one of the big pain points that I see, Dr. Pete, with even our best CEO docs, right? So we've got hundreds of doctors that coach with us directly inside of our Remarkable CEO program. And something that we see very, very commonly is that these doctors are understaffed, right? So this is, by and large, I can almost guarantee you that you are understaffed, right? So here's the truth. What we focus on is we try to run lean businesses, right? So, oh yeah, I hear that all the time. I'm trying to keep it lean, right? So I'm trying to run, with as thin of a team as possible. And I understand that on paper that might make sense to you, but to be truthful, it creates huge exposure for you, okay? Directly and indirectly, right? So here's what I've seen to be true is those doctors who think like that, what they experience is they lose a key player and they lose momentum. Right. So if they have one person that goes out on pregnancy leave or gets married and moves away, or maybe somebody quits, or maybe somebody is fired, it directly impacts them. They lose their momentum and they reset, and they lose $10,000, $15,000 in revenue, 2, 3, 4, 5 months in a row. It takes a while to not just to get back to where they were before, never mind all that growth that they lost. Do the math. You want to take a 3-year view of your business when you're making these types of decisions. And I guarantee you, net, if you're running a lean team and I run a deep bench, so that if I lose a key player, or somebody goes on vacation, or goes out on sick leave, or they go off on pregnancy leave, or somebody has to be fired, or they quit, or whatever, it's terrible, but it's a shark's tooth philosophy, right? So one gets knocked out, the other one moves in. We don't lose a beat, right? We don't lose a beat, and we keep trucking. And Dr. Pete, something I know to be true, man, is as much as it might cost me a bit more to have a bigger team, net over 3 years, I win, not losing that momentum.
Yeah. So two points I want to make on this. This is so important. Number one is, and I want to give you an action step. And this might be a theme of your 2022 is I want you to build your bench. Build your bench. So, immediately I come to the sports analogy. I'm a big sports fan. Dr. Stephen, you are as well. We always bring those up as our analogies. It's really good framing for our points we want to make. And of all the team sports, think about them. And the 3 that are coming to my mind right now are basketball, baseball, football, and then hockey just popped in my brain. So think about how this works. You have the players, then you have the backup. And then you have, if you're in baseball, you actually have a farm system. So it's like, not only are we going to pull from our bench, we'll actually pull from a system that's a farm system, which is they're not even ready, but they're gonna feed into this if we have to. So we have to have layers and layers of support. And the reason why is because people can get injured. Things go wrong. And the same thing happens in our businesses. People get pregnant, like you said. Things happen in people's lives. Maybe they had an awesome opportunity they've been waiting for professionally that finally came their way, and they need to take that step. And it's the right thing for them to do, right? There's all sorts of scenarios, or somebody's just not working out. You'd put so much hope and energy in them, and it's like, they're just not a good fit, and we are not prepared to replace them, but they need to go now, that kind of a thing. And now we're shorthanded and we deal with that. So first thing I want to say in 2022, this might be a theme for some of you, build your bench. Not bad. All right. The second thing is, don't be the capacity block. Guilty as charged. I would say for me, because I know there's some of us that still have the owner operator identity, or maybe we slip back into it for one reason or another. And I would say that oftentimes the capacity block starts with you. And so that's why we talk about, even in our Remarkable CEO program, specifically in our first phase of training, it's all about the identity shift of a CEO from an owner operator to the CEO. And one of the biggest hurdles to overcome is that identity shift. And there's a lot of layers underneath why one would struggle with this. But I will say this to all of you CEOs, check yourself. You got to keep your finger on that pulse. It's easy to slide back into the behavioral patterns and the thought patterns and the belief patterns of an owner operator. There's a sexiness to it. There's an attractiveness to it. There's something that comes sometimes from that, but you have to be able to identify you may be the capacity block on your team, your mindset, which we went over a few earlier, in regards to your team. So I'm thinking about the mental capacity block when it comes to your team.
That's right.
Oftentimes that's the subluxation pattern, cause effect. And so we need to be sensitive to the CEOs. Just where are you at with building that bench? When he said that, when Dr. Stevens said that, were you like, no, I want to keep it lean. It's more profitable. I can handle it. I got this. We're going to be okay. Really? I don't know. Long term, it's not a good strategy. So I just want you to really evaluate your own selves and where you're at right now. And we want to encourage you to take that next step of investment.
Hey, Pete, let's pull the blankets off of this thing right now, because this is what it looks like, right? So You may, Doc, in your mind right now being like, oh man, adding people to my team, I'm adding overhead to my team, and I'm eroding my profit margin, right? So it's like, man, I'm thinking payroll, overhead, losing profit, etc. That's what an owner operator sounds like. Okay, so if you're ready to make the leap and you're ready to really grow up into the position of a CEO, CEOs, what do we look for? We look for leverage, right? So a CEO, we recognize it's like, man, you know what? I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to use my money to buy somebody else's time, energy, focus, and talent. I'm going to invest in bringing in the horsepower and the talent that I'm going to need to reach my goals. That's what a CEO sounds like. Recognizing that, man, together we go further. With the right team, 1 + 1 = 11. I don't want to do this on my own. I've tried brute force. I'm tired of that, right? That's called owning a job. When you have goals that you want to reach, a CEO recognizes, man, I've got to bring people in. I'm going to use my money to buy their time, energy, and focus to free up my time, energy, and focus. Man, it's an investment. That's where you create scalability and durability. Spinal Hygiene is on a mission to create a greater awareness for lifetime spinal health and wellness in the world. And if you know their founder, Dr. Tabor Smith, you know that he won't stop until taking care of your spine is as common as taking care of your teeth. This system works perfectly with the three-legged stool of results patient education. Get your adjustments in rhythm, break your bad habits, and add your specific exercises to strengthen the spine and hold your adjustments better. Patients love the results that they're seeing, and of course, our doctors love to see happy patients. The public needs to know that in order to preserve the health of the spine and nervous system, as well as prevent degeneration of the spine, they need to do daily spinal hygiene exercises and have a chiropractor on their healthcare team that they see regularly for spine and nervous system checkups. The Spinal Hygiene System helps to build awareness, increase compliance, improve retention, and encourage more referrals into your practice. So, Doc, if you want to educate your patients about lifetime spinal care, increase your customer retention and satisfaction, and add a new stream of income for your practice, then go to spinalhygieneproducts.com to learn more. That's spinalhygieneproducts.com.
One of our core values at The Remarkable Practice is innovation. And that's one reason why we love partnering with Sked, who is dedicated to helping chiropractors connect and communicate better by using innovative technology that's easy to use. Sked allows chiropractors to connect to every patient through their mobile phone like never before, increasing conversion, retention, and reactivations, all with less work. Software can seem complicated to start, so the team at Sked does all the work to get you set up and running as quickly and efficiently as possible. Sked does the hard work for you. To request a demo, go to www.sked.life. That's sked.life. Genesis Chiropractic Software and Billing Network harnesses artificial intelligence and automation to improve collections, patient retention, compliance, and staff efficiency. Being in the cloud for over 16 years allows Genesis to take advantage of artificial intelligence, provides the practice with a more accessible and secure system, allows for more seamless integrations with other technologies, and ensures you will always have access to the latest technology available on the market. Genesis Single Point Management harnesses AI and workflow automation in order to optimize the overall patient experience. For the practices that use Genesis Single Point Management as compared to all other systems, they see an increase in revenue, cash, and insurance of 62%, patient retention 26%, compliance 32%, and 33% more staff efficiency. To schedule a risk-free demo, go to www.genesischiropracticsoftware.com. That's genesischiropracticsoftware.com. With a staggering 91% of patients now expecting digital care from their chiropractors, it's clear that personalized communication is critical for your practice. Digital Care 100 is the premier video engagement platform in chiropractic and offers easy-to-use tools to create short, personable videos and send them directly to your patients. At the heart of digital care is the DC100 content library, your own personal archive of conversations just waiting to be had. Content ideas are already brainstormed, trends are already identified, projected and mapped out, interesting and engaging content is ready for delivery. With a built-in teleprompter and 100 plus video scripts to choose from, Digital Care 100 is engineered to keep your chiropractic moving forward 365 days of the year, and you're in the driver's seat. Ignite practice growth with Digital Care 100. Visit digitalcare100.com to learn more. And now let's jump right back into our conversation. I'm excited because I think that many of you are going to listen to this podcast, and you have been, are going to take some action on this. So the first one, we got to get right, Dr. Stevens. We got to get the right person. And I love this. And we talked about, we were going to title this episode The Four Wrongs, because it's like, if you've got capacity block, then something is wrong, right? One of these four is wrong, or two of them, or four of them, all of them are wrong, right? It's possible for that to happen. So we want you to get these four right. The capacity block is when you get them wrong. So the first one you could get wrong of the four rights is the wrong person. So let's talk about that. So there's a few things we have to be conscious of and very attentive to when it comes to finding the right person. The first thing is that we want to make sure we find people that align with, our core values, your business core values, that they share those core values. This is fundamental because this is how we behave, right? These are the things that happen when you get squeezed, your values come out, right? This is what gets exposed. So when we're under pressure or when we're not being seen, these are the things that truly become the nature of who we are gets exposed. So number one, you want to make sure you're hiring people that share your core values. And so obviously you need to know what your core values are, your business core values. You need to be demonstrating those values yourself. The other players in your team also should be demonstrating those core values. And then the people that come to your interview process, who are coming to look for, again, is this the right fit? Hey, do you align with these core values? This is what they are. The second thing is vision. That when you share the vision story with someone, this person who's going to bring their time, energy, and their focus, their talent, who they are, and they're going to put themselves in your team. They're going to invest who they are with you. They should see the vision and say, I want to take who I am and do that. Essentially is what it is. When I share with you my vision, this is what we want to create. This is what's important here. These are the things that convict us. These are the things we're passionate about. This is our mission. This is what we're about. And someone hears that who's looking to potentially come on your team, they should be like, sign me up. I'm in. Like, let me at it. I want to come. I want to do this. So the right person is, they're inspired by your vision. They're literally pulled by your vision as you are. And they're actually pushed by their purpose, because their purpose is their why. Why do I even want to show up and do this work? And they align with your core values. And if you miss those two, it gets dicey after that. So we got to get this part right, Dr. Stephen. We got to really lean in here and make sure that we don't cut corners. We don't miss this, because it's easy to look past this and just look at a resume and be like, all right, I think this person's a good fit. And you totally miss this part. I see this happen too often, Dr. Stephen.
Yeah. And the vision part is really where the capacity block is most common, right? So because people will come to us for a reason and for a season, the season might come and go, right? They might lose the vision, right? So they might have a vision for a season of your practice, whether it's, I like us from 200 to 500. That was a great stretch. It was a great season. Anything over that, I wasn't, happy here, what have you. And then they're going to become the point of resistance, right? It's like driving with the e-brake on. So, some people, they're with us for a reason and for a season. So you always have that level of awareness. So you want to be watching that. So as the vision caster, as the CEO, you got to watch how people respond, right? How do they respond to that vision? Are they buying into it? Are they like, hell yeah, I'm in. Let's do that. That has to happen. Let's make that happen. If not, you're going to have points of resistance there. Those are going to be capacity issues, right? And I'll wrap on this one, Dr. Pete, with the right person, is it's A players, right? So this is like A players only. And we have our A player assessment tool that we use to determine, is somebody an A player or not, so that you get the best of the best people in your office, right? And, that A player, we assess them across talent, skill, and heart, right? So talent is God-given, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are they? 10 being a genius, 1 being hopeless, right? So where are they in the talent scale for this particular role in your practice? And then it's skill. Like, what do they know? Do they know how to do what you need them to do, right? And, again, so a scale of 1 to 10, where is this person right now, right? And the final one is the heart issue, right? So this is, are they on purpose? Are they on mission? Are they driven? Are they a self-starter, right? So from a scale of 1 to 10, where are they, right? You've got to be auditing your team on a regular basis. So you make sure that you've got A players who are buying into your vision story and share your core values, right? So that's the first right you got to get right. Any of those you get wrong, and you're going to be having a personnel capacity block.
Yep. And then this moves into the second. So let's just say, Doc, for the sake of our conversation today on this podcast, you got that right. Okay. So let's say we got the first one right. We got the right person. The second one that we've got to get right is we got to get them in the right position or right role. Really important here, guys, because it's easy to get somebody mismatched, right? So it's all about matching, right? We want to match the right person for the right role, right? It's really important to get this right. And I mean, Dr. Stephen, you and I both know as entrepreneurs starting businesses, there's a season where you're wearing all the hats. Okay. So, you are not matched for that, but you do it anyway. That's not this. Okay. That's what you do because you start a business and you do whatever you got to do. And, it's just GSD, man, just get it done, just figure it out.
Yeah,
but you and I both, you don't have a choice. And you and I both know it's not the way it should be long-term, and it won't be if you can get this thing going. So this is the moment where you identify, okay, I've got things on my plate, or there's things that are going on that need to be done in the office that require a certain skill set, a certain talent, a certain person. Who is that person? Who's the right person for this job, right? That's the second thing. We got to find the right person. There's really 3 kind of things we like to look at, Dr. Stephen. We like to look at number 1, do they get it? Meaning, do they understand the work, the role, the responsibilities, the objectives of this specific position in the company? One of the things that we've done, Dr. Stephen, I think we've done a really good job for chiropractic is, and I'm excited because I've been around enough and I've talked to enough chiropractors that are like, man, the fact that you guys have organized the roles within an organizational chart and accountability chart is just so helpful, right? With specific, competencies, core competencies for those roles, with specific objectives and, KPIs that one might own for those roles. Like, we've really, I think, done that for chiropractic, where it really hasn't been done before. Nobody had that before. So we try to make it easier for you, I would like to say, to get the right person in the right role. I do feel like we've been working really hard at doing this, and I feel like it's been effective, to be honest, now that we're seeing it being implemented and being done. But so you got to find somebody who understands the role. So that means you got to know what the role is, and you're actually placing a person in a role versus I'm hiring somebody and going to try to then figure out where should they be. No, this is the need. We're placing you in a need, in a role in our office, in a position.
That's right.
So getting it's one, Dr. Stephen, understanding. Number two is they want it. This has to do with passion. This means when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, man, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm going to work. It's not work. It's my passion, man. Let me get after it. I want it. There's got to be a want.
I want that role. I want that set of responsibilities, right?
Exactly. And then the third is, we have the capacity to do that. So capacity has to do with, they actually have the bandwidth. They actually have the training, and they can do it right. That's what we're looking at. So, obviously, the get it, want to have the capacity to do it. We learned that nice framework from Gino over there, Gino Wickman. But
yeah, Gino Wickman from Traction. It's such a great system, because otherwise it's like, how do you have that conversation? It's when you sit down with your COO who's running the team, you look, and if there's underperformance in that role, you look at that role, not the person. There's underperformance in that role. It's like, well, who's in that role right now? It's almost, again, back to the sports analogies. If you're running a football team, you're like, hey, we're not completing passes. We're not converting first downs, right? So we're not scoring extra points or, field goals. So, well, who do we have in that role right now? Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it well? It's such a great way to assess that team member. And, I like the way you framed that. It's like always looking at your business from the position of know your business as it is, as if it were a sports team. There are positions, there are roles, and you bring particular athletes in or bring particular people in to fill those roles versus just hire a bunch of people and hand out tasks for people to do, right? So, Dr. P, I think we do an exceptional job at organizing this. And, this is, if people are struggling with this and they need help with this, they've got to attend our Remarkable Team Building Immersion, right? So we have that coming up in January. You and I are still pumped coming off of the Remarkable Retention Immersion, but we've got team building coming up in January. It's January 22nd and 21st. And this, guys, if you're listening to us right now being like, what are you talking about? Or, man, yeah, it's been kind of wonky. I'm that person who hires somebody and gives them a bunch of work. And then after a year or two of them being there, there's certain things that they like to do and don't do. So the next person that we hire, they hand it off to that person. So everybody's got their pile of tasks that they do, right? And man, you don't want to operate like that, right? So you want to have clear and distinct roles, or what we call functions of the business. Under each one of those functions is a set of responsibilities that are organized underneath that function. And we understand the type of person or the avatar that would have the attributes, the skill sets, and the experience so that they're going to be awesome in that role, right? So we've defined each and every role in the chiropractic office, and we have created these snapshots, which allows you to recognize, oh, that's the role. This is what it takes, all the way through the job description, all the way through how to incentivize them, how to train them, and really the scorecards that help organize everything, which really, of course, speaks to our next topic.
Yeah, so it's a journey, right? The 4 rights, and one leads to the next one. So for the sake of our conversation, if you got the first one wrong, the wrong person, then full stop, we don't move forward, right? That's the end. If you get the right person and you get him in the right role, so let's say we got that right, then the next step, the next thing we've got to get right is we've got to have them be doing the right work, right? So this goes back to actually what you're talking about is having that avatar positioned and put into a position where that's been defined. This is what's expected of you. So doing the right work is, these are the objectives of this position. This is why this position exists. This is the purpose of this position. Objective number 1, objective number 2, objective number 3. And when I look at these objectives, I can say, I can do this. I want to do this. I understand what needs to be done. Do you understand what needs to be done? Yes. So now we get into the more granular level of actually doing the work, right? So these are the jobs that are part of what I call key responsibilities. These are the key responsibilities of your position. Can you do these things? These are the things that I'm going to train you on. These are the things that you're going to develop, number 1, a competency in. And this is where onboarding is so important. I have to speak to that right now. If we do a really good job interviewing and hiring, but we drop the ball at onboarding, you're putting them in such a hard position. And oftentimes A players will not tolerate that, and they're out, right? They won't tolerate a sloppy beginning, those first 90 days. We've got to nail those first 90 days, that onboarding we like to call like a probationary period of time. it's a period of time where there's just a sensitivity to, hey, you're new and we're getting to know each other and we're learning how to work together. We're learning how to dance on this floor together. And we have a sensitivity to that. So we're going to be over communicate. We're going to be hyper vigilant, hypersensitive to you during this season of onboarding. And that's really one of the keys, Dr. Stephen, I've noticed with really successful long-term relationships with a team is to bring people in really well. I think that's the first stage of really getting people doing the right work right. So if they do that work right, they've got clarity around what it is that needs to be done. They know exactly what's expected of them. What are those key responsibilities? That's documented, written down, and it's being reviewed regularly, right? It's being brought up consistently, with your, let's say, manager. If they're, that person is managing this new hire, it's really important that that's happening. And this never stops us doing the right work, right? So it's the right person in the right role doing the right work. Now that never stops. Once you're starting to work, Doc, you and I know work can evolve. There can be elements that change and evolve over time. And we want to make sure we're continuing to do the right work, the difference between being busy and being productive. And that's what this is coming down. Dr. Stephen, I know there's a lot we could say on this. I'll stop there. I'll throw it back to you. But this one becomes a real issue if it's not handled correctly.
Yeah, and it can't be, you can't make it up as you go, right? So you got to make sure that you have a system that you follow, and the system that we use is the scorecard system. So the scorecard is the way you create that level of focus for everybody on your team. It's like, okay, so Dr. Pete, in this role in the business, these are your responsibilities, and this quarter, this is what I want you to focus on now, right? So our scorecard creates that level of focus. Man, it's like one of the most powerful tools that we have. That scorecard is what creates that focus, and focus is what makes the difference between busyness and productivity, right? So we have a scorecard training. This is the tool that we want to give away today on this episode. So we're going to give you guys the scorecard and what's called the KPI legend, which is list our favorite KPIs for each and every position on the team, and the activities that will predictably drive those KPIs, key performance indicators. This is just gold, Dr. Pete. It's it's probably our clients what's one of their favorite resources. Man, we took something that's really, really difficult to do right, and we made it so much easier for you to do. I wish I could make it easy, but we're going to make it easier, right? And if you'd like, you can download that scorecard and the KPI legend, which is going to get you 85, 90% of the way there. If you need more help with that, just reach out to us. We're happy to jump on a call with you and help you work it out, brainstorm with you, and help you get those scorecards right. Because once you do, man, you are pulling back some of the incredible capacity blocks that people have with their personnel, because they just get stuck with good people, the right people in the right role. They're just not doing the right work, right? They're just focused on everything, warming surfaces. They're not starting fires anywhere, and they don't really make any real motion.
So there's two big things, Dr. Stephen, you've stated today on this episode that I want to make sure everybody takes advantage of. Number one is January 21st and 22nd, 2022, the team building immersion. I think it would be really valuable for you to start your year off strong, breaking through the capacity block of personnel by being at that event. The events, the immersions that we have, Dr. Stephen, are so powerful. Again, coming right off of an immersion we just had in October, so awesome. The retention immersion. So awesome. So I really want to encourage all of you, if you've been immersions before, we'll look forward to seeing you there. If you've never been, it's always, the first step's the hardest step. So take that first step to get to one immersion, get to an immersion. This is an excellent one. Bring your team with you, and let's work on your business together. Let's all come together and work together, because together we go farther, right? That's the truth.
And I'm always so impressed, like how welcoming everybody is. Like, don't be intimidated. Like, people sitting there, listen, we've got some badass chiropractors and chiropractic teams in that room, no question about it. But there's plenty of docs who are just starting out, other docs that have been struggling for 25 years, right? So just so you know, you're going to be welcome and received exactly where you are, and we're going to help you optimize where you are and gracefully navigate to the next level. So please don't stay at home. Don't stay away because you feel like, man, I'm going to feel awkward, or I'm embarrassed or whatever. Man, don't let any of those, again, that's a limiting belief, right? Don't let any of those prevent you from just making 2022 the biggest year ever.
100%, Doc. You nailed it. And that brings me to my second point, which is the scorecard and the KPI legend. I mean, just the fact that you can have that in your possession you've already upgraded your team and your business potential significantly by that. I mean, it's, again, like you said, one of our clients' favorite tools, most valued tools, most treasured possessions is just having that. And what a driver for driving focus and productivity on your team. So that's that. And the third thing I'm going to talk about, point I want to make, is the final right. So if you get the right person and you get them in the right role, the right position, and they're doing the right work, the final piece, that's the key to this all, is they're doing it the right way. And what's coming to my mind is we just came out of an immersion. So here we are at an immersion with really gifted and talented teams and doctors and team members. And it's amazing how, we're training on our systems, we're training on, different elements of the model. We're doing some role playing, we're doing all of that. And it's amazing how, it's like, wow, I've been doing this work, but I haven't been doing it exactly like that. Right. And so you've been doing the right work, but maybe you haven't been doing the right work the right way. Okay. So you're going up there and you're doing let's just go with the sports analogy. You're taking the shot, you're doing it, but the way that you're doing it, it's not correct. If you change this or that, that's where you're going to see the biggest change. And you always hear athletes talk about that, especially the golfers, right? They always talk about, I got a new coach. He's like, oh, try this, hold the club like this. Try to do your backswing like this, hold your hips like this, use this type of club. Oh, when you're here, try this. It's like all these different things. What are they doing? It's the same dang thing. Hit the ball with the stick over there into that hole. But it's a wildly different story to do it this way, to do it the right way. And I know if you're like us, you want things done particular way. The whole Clydesdale control freak perfectionist that some of us had to recover from comes out at these moments when you're like, what is going on here, guys? Who trained you to do it like that? And they're looking at you like, I think you did, And so this is that moment where it all comes back to training. So the biggest capacity block that I see here, Dr. Stephen, is we're not training. We're not following a schedule. We're training inconsistently. The trainings are flat. We're really not inspired. We're really not getting things done. And that's one of the values of coming together for immersions. And that's one of the values of, again, coming together as a team every single week consistently and training on the fundamentals of our practice. That's the things we got to get right. We get these 4 right, Dr. Stephen, the capacity block, you'll see it get resolved.
That's right. And what are we training on? We're training on our systems, right? So perfect place to end today's episode, because that's going to be where we're going to kick off our next episode as we go over these crazy capacity blocks, the 8 most common capacity blocks that we see in our practices. The next time we're together, we're going to be unpacking one of my favorite topics when we're talking about systems. We're talking about operational capacity blocks. So guys, put this to work. This week, you're focusing on your personnel. You're taking a look at your team. Pull out your accountability chart. Look around and ask yourself, do I have the 4 rights nailed, or am I looking at the 4 wrongs?
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic. And what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.